Hi, this is Summer 2000. You're listening to 91.3 Independent Radio, WVKR Poughkeepsie. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
perfect.
cool.
That was Trevor Wong Guitar E-School Graduation Party. Up next, we're going to hear a little bit more about the upcoming tour for Summer 2000. Well, you're in Illinois right now, right?
Yes.
And doing a
Yes.
Midwest tour soon. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so we are doing a little kind of sprint around the Great Lakes area pretty soon, starting in 3 weeks at the end of March. Or sorry, the beginning of March. We're playing Detroit. We're playing at the Lager House with Mount Oriander and a couple others. We're really excited for that. And we're playing a headline performance at Oberlin Conservatory in at the Cat and the Cream Coffee House on the 8th, which is also we're really excited for. And then the next week we're kind of just romping around the old stomping grounds a little bit. We're playing Madison, which we played before. We're playing Gamma Ray Bar with Bug Moment and Sex Comma Fear and a surprise guest. And then we're playing a city in Illinois that I'd never heard of up until recently, even though I'm from Illinois, called Willow Springs. They're kind of southwest of Chicago, kind of by Naperville, Joliet. We're playing a coffee shop there called Ashbury Coffee House with some really cool local bands. And then we're ending the tour playing now Subterranean. It used to be, it was going to be Beat Kitchen, but it got sold out. And so we're upsizing to Subterranean in downtown Chicago. We're opening for Weather Day, which I'm really excited for. And then we're playing with Your Arms Are My Cocoon as well, big inspiration of mine, and then a band Sweet Bike, which are really cool. So, yeah, that's kind of the tour. It's 2 weekends, so it's not going to be too not going to have to take much time off of work. And yeah, it'll be fun though. We're not going to we're just going to kind of come back home after each show of the second half. Madison's not too far. It's like 2 hours away from where we are. So yeah, that's exciting. We're excited to kind of establish the new form of the band. I was playing with another band in Utah previously, where I used to live. And but yeah, we got a pretty much new lineup now, except for me and my wife. So yeah, we're excited for it.
Nice. I guess I'll jump off the Oberlin point too. We saw that you are trained in cello. If I'm
Uh, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my primary instrument, I would say. I grew up like learning and playing cello in like orchestra. I actually just today sent the flyer to my old orchestra teacher, just to who I thought would think is it's pretty absurd that we're playing at Oberlin. Just because it's an unconventional way of getting into an Oberlin show. Because stereotypically, all the best first chair orchestra kids were applying for Oberlin and stuff like that. And I know some people who went to Oberlin. It's a very academic music school. But yeah, obviously I'm not like professionally trained. I don't have any like I just grew up playing it. Took a couple months of private lessons here and there, and played it all through high school, as well. And I still play it now. I do uh, occasionally do commissions for cellos and for cello work on some bands that I work with, and also my own stuff. I play cello, and so, but yeah, that's kind of I would say, like, the instrument I'm best at.
Is
Um,
cello the first instrument you learned?
so no, I did. So I grew up Mormon, so
Oh,
uh, there is kind of a big emphasis on musical instruments, especially like the piano. Piano is kind of like the stereotypical Mormon instrument that you learn at a young age, and so I did take piano lessons when I was like in kindergarten. I quit pretty quickly though. I mean, I didn't. It's not something, especially when you start getting into like doing different things with your two different hands, doing like totally different things. I was like, all right, I my brain's not built for this. So I mean I can do that with cello, but with piano I feel like there's some fine movement going on with both hands that I don't have that skill for. So, but yeah, I did learn piano before cello technically. So,
and cello just stuck?
yeah, definitely I would say my parents pushed me to keep with it, which I'm very grateful for them doing that. It was definitely something that I didn't really like to practice, and I have never really liked to practice very much. So that's especially when I didn't get in. There's like tiered orchestras in high school, and I didn't get into like the upper tier orchestra for a while because I just didn't want to practice. So it was uh, it definitely stuck, and I do love it. I mean, it is. I feel like you always love the instrument that you kind of learn music on. I feel like, even though it's been a while since I've played, especially in like an orchestral setting. I don't really, I haven't played in an orchestra since like, yeah, high school, which is almost 10 years at this point. So
Those were Trace a Path You Cannot Follow and Order and Routine. We'll hear a little bit more about Summer 2000's background in the Mormon Church. I have two questions about the Mormonism, and one is like kind
Sure.
of serious, and then one is a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, go. Hit me. I love these.
I grew up in Southern Oregon, so
Okay.
a huge Mormon population.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Funeral potatoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes.
You've never heard of the
Uh,
Mormon?
No way.
yeah. Funeral potatoes. It's like baked potatoes diced with like cornflakes and cheese, pretty much.
Oh wait,
That's
that
yeah.
sounds awesome.
I
Yeah,
love
it
them.
is. Yeah, it is.
You
I
got
would say I haven't had them in a long time, honestly. I mean, I left my faith almost 10 years ago at this point. I mean, I did go to BYU. So I did, have to stay Mormon, quote unquote, when I was there,
what,
but
what did you think at BYU?
Yeah.
uh it was an experience. It was definitely, I mean, I met my wife while I was at BYU, so I think, there's obviously a reason for me to go there. And yeah, I do feel like I got a good education for all intents and purposes. Um, I did graduate. I streamlined my graduation in 3 years because I was like, no way I'm putting up with this for 3 years. I was like, or for more than 3 years. So I just kind of chose an easy major. I just did business school, and I was like, yeah, packing my semester to with the intention of getting out as quickly as possible. It was definitely a difficult experience for a lot of other reasons, but I mean, I met a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I met some people there that I still consider my good friends, and especially my wife, of course. But yeah, definitely an experience, especially as someone who already kind of knew they didn't believe in the LDS faith, like pretty much right when I got there. And it's kind of, something where they kind of monitor that while you're there. Like they kind of monitor
They make
your
sure that you're
belief.
down with everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
So it's a different world out there, out there in Utah. Yeah, it really is. I've just been telling over and over again how different it is from it's every state is like its own country. So but yeah, Utah is definitely a very unique country within the United States. I'll tell you that. So um yeah, but yeah, it was a good experience. But yeah, as far as funeral potatoes go, I would say thumb up, one thumb up for me on that.
Just going back to the music, a lot of your stuff is very like, I mean, one of your most favorite songs or most famous songs, most streamed is Lucifer Loves Me, of course, and
Yes,
have these
yes.
very like kind of almost like an analog horror thing to it. Do you think that you use your music as a means of kind of processing your separation from faith and like experimenting with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, John Krasinski in particular, I think was definitely a processing of my faith crisis that I had. In a lot of ways, it was kind of like something that even after 5 years, which I mean, 3 of those years being at BYU where I couldn't really leave, it was pretty much part of my life every day still. But kind of 5 years later, after, kind of a retrospective on kind of those 5 years and how I changed as a person and my, kind of, yeah, the whole destruction of your beliefs and your belief system. Because yeah, I think the interesting thing about Mormonism, I feel like that separates it from a lot of other Christianity is that it is kind of also it's a worldview as much as it is like just a lifestyle. Like it's, obviously there's going to church, which I'm sure many people have experience with, but then there's like being a Mormon, which is like every waking moment of your life is um kind of involved with being Mormon, and I think the terminology they use nowadays is like high demand religion. So it's like, there's just a lot of demands and a lot of like kind of things, check boxes you have to do. And lots of ritual, lots of very repetitive and intense ritual, like learning the same things over and over and over and over again, basically, um, and so, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say John Krasinski was, I mean, I talked about that in the Bandcamp description of the album a little bit, and I've talked about it before a little bit, but on other podcasts as well, and radio stations. But I think that John Krasinski in particular is the kind of faith crisis album, and the tr trying to cope with like kind of losing your worldview, losing everything that you thought you knew was true, and trying to figure out what is true and what is truth, and what um, you know life the purpose of life is actually, and that kind of stuff, and I would say the rest since then has been definitely influenced, but not as influenced by that. I mean, it's definitely something that I like. Mormonism in general is something I don't think about as much these days. Especially, in those days, I definitely was thinking a lot about it, and I did finally get my name removed last year from the church's records, which was something that I started to do before I wrote John Krasinski, and then I kind of like took a step back from it. I mean, you had to get a notary. You have to get a notary to like sign to like get your records removed. So like, which is, I don't know, it's a little weird to me. But I just at that point, back in 2019 or whatever, when I started that process, was pretty like, oh yeah, I'm ready for this, and then kind of like came to the part where you had to get a notary, and I'm like, am I actually ready for this? And then last year I was definitely like, okay, I don't really think about this very much these days. This is something where I feel like it's, I'm ready to move on and just be, separated from it all. So
And now Lucifer Loves Me of the album John Krasinski. Switching gears a little bit, I think one thing about you that is really interesting and it separates your music from a lot of stuff that's similar in the genre is your writing style. And I read somewhere that you would just turn on the beat and like hold the guitar and just start recording to like build these songs. Do you want to expand on that a little bit more? I think it's a fascinating process.
yeah, that's a great question because I love talking about this because I feel like this method, for me at least, is the only way that I've found that I can really capture things that I like. I feel like if I overthink anything, I just start to very quickly dislike it and throw it away. Versus where, when you kind of capture in the moment, um, it's hard to be like, this sucks because it's like, yeah, well, I just wrote it in 10 seconds. So it's not a big deal. Even if it does suck, like I wrote it in 10 seconds. So it's not. anyways, so yeah, the whole idea is I don't know. I want to, I want to not, I want to call it impressionistic, but I also don't want to like compare myself to, impressionist painters that are well above my pay grade. But I think the idea is the same as far as trying to capture the impressions of the moment rather than trying to build something that isn't real. I guess the way that I've kind of put it into words before is like discovering a song versus building a song, or building art. Discovering art versus building art. It's like, in the moment, it's very easy to, if a beat is playing and the microphone is on, it's very easy to, it's easier, I guess, to just kind of discover something that sounds good, and not critique it as much, because it's like you are just in a discovery mode. You're not necessarily trying to build something or construct something, versus like, in the construction methodology of like, oh, I'm going to write a song, like what chord progression should it be, what should the melody be, how can I make this a catchy song, or I feel like a little bit more of like a left brain approach to it, where I feel like that was kind of my approach for a long time leading up to the summer 2000 kind of stuff. I was in a lot of bands growing up, like three or four projects that I had with people, that my writing, none of that stuff that I wrote in those bands I consider, even remotely listenable at this point, because I think I was viewing things through the lens of like, oh, I'm gonna build a good song. I'm gonna like create something that sounds good, versus like just uncovering it. I think a big moment for me was like uncovering like open guitar tunings or alternate guitar tunings. But yeah, that was a big discovery for me. That was my friend Kellen, who plays in the Summer 2000 band now. He's a drummer. He in high school, he kind of introduced me to the idea of like, yo, you don't need to tune the guitar in standard. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, like it, I don't know. It was just, every guitar lesson I'd ever taken up to that point was like, yeah, this is how you tune the guitar. Like, you don't play it in any other way. And like, oh yeah, maybe you drop the E string down to a D every once in a while, but that's if you're playing like, metal, or, you know. And so I feel like in general, I feel like open tunings make singing and playing guitar way easier. Like I think standard tuning is actually very tricky to play and sing at the same time, unless you're just playing chords. And I feel like, especially with the melodic kind of guitar work that I like to do, it's a lot easier to play that. I mean, it's, even if it sounds really hard, it's not. That's what I've kind of taught, because there are some songs that I've totally forgotten how to play at this point, because like I said, like with that impressionist element to it, sometimes I'm like tuning it. I don't even know what the notes are. I just tune it till it sounds good, and then I start playing, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I should have written down like the tuning of that. Like I don't remember how I played that. And so there are a lot of songs that I've had to like rediscover how to play. And there are a few songs where the original way that I played it is like lost media at this point. Like I play the song Bob the Habit Builder. I don't I don't remember how I originally played that. I definitely play it in a incorrect way. It's not the way that I play it that I played it in the recording. But yeah, anyways.
How do I know when things are safe for me to put my life in danger on the daily?
that was Bob the Habit Builder, also off of the John Krasinski album. Listening in on this, chat, this back and forth specifically, I think our listeners might have picked up on one thing, so I'm just gonna ask, but why the cast of The Office for all of the...
Okay, yeah,
That's
this is a
my
classic
favorite
question I
Office
get.
episode.
So actually, the funny thing I talked about this in my last radio interview. The funny thing is that up until the B-sides one I did, Steve, I would not actually consider them office characters because they're actually both of those pictures for John and Ellie Kemper were from the Conan show. So it's their internship pictures from like the Conan show. So
Wow.
the show that actually ties those two together are actually Conan, not The Office. Obviously, they both were also on The Office. But then I kind of decided to lean into the meme that the misunderstanding of it, and so I chose Steve Carell to do for the
There he
last
is.
one as more of a meme. Um, Answer to that question is there is really no significant meaning behind it. Like
Were you
I'm not a
a
I'm not a huge Office fan. Like I enjoy it like just as much as anyone else, but
huge Conan fan?
not really. No, I don't think I've ever really seen Conan. No. Yeah, yeah. So
Sometimes the picture sticks with you. I get it.
yeah, I don't know. So the whole story. I mean, I've said the story probably 10 times at this point, but I saw the pic. Someone posted the John Krasinski picture on like a Midwest emo meme Facebook group that I was in, and someone was like, it was a cross post from an Office Facebook group. So someone had like saw something in the Office Facebook group and then reposted it to like the Midwest emo Facebook group and said like, yo, this should be an album cover. This is funny because it's like, it looks like a Midwest, a lot of Midwest emo has like Polaroids and stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know, he looks a little aloof in the picture, he's not, he looks a little taken, like, he was caught off guard maybe a little bit. And
I look like he's from Urbana for sure.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I think at that point the vision kind of emerged. I was like, oh great. I'll use it kind of fits the vibe of like not overthinking it with like the other, with the other aspects of the album of just like, as long as, if it like don't second guess or question any like judgment kind of like in the moment. And so I was like from then on, and then the other thing I always say is the name Summer 2000 as an album I thought was kind of cool, and sorry, as an artist, like a project name I thought was kind of cool because it is kind of like not, I mean it's confusing a little bit, I feel like, for some people, like and also it sounds a little bit like a video game console. I don't know, just like the Summer 2000 or like the Atari, whatever. So that was kind of another inspiration behind using the picture. And then with Ellie Kemper, it was just like I mean, I have to double down on it kind of because I was writing a lot of, I was the process that I was using to write was very similar to what I was doing with John. And so I decided to just go in, and then the third time I was like, I'm putting the nail in the coffin, and I'm sealing it. And now, like, obviously I have no plans to reuse those kind of pictures for any music moving forward. Who knows? Maybe I will, but I'm not feeling inspired. It was mostly for the joke, for the meme to do, especially the last one. So yeah.
Yeah. If you want to talk a little bit more just about like how video games have influenced your music, because I feel like we've
It's
talked a
all over.
lot about
Yeah.
GameCubes and everything.
Yeah. Yes.
Remember an old Summer 2000 logo that just had like Mario lettering?
Yeah. 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 Yes.
I was
Yep.
up for
Yep.
a while on the Spotify.
So yeah, I think so growing up Mormon, like anything rated T was not allowed. Like anything rated T or above was not really allowed in my house. So even if it was for silly things like Guitar Hero wasn't allowed in my house, so we had to have Lego Rock Band instead. And so, which actually great game,
I
introduced me
would
to some
say
great
that sounds
music.
great.
Yeah, yeah, Lego Rock Band's a great game.
What
But we were a Nintendo house only pretty much. So we always had like I got a GameCube when I was 8 years old for Christmas, and I had an N64 briefly before that, but it broke. And then we got the Wii, we got the Wii U, and we have all these still. They haven't, and also I was definitely a browser game kid. So like RuneScape, old school RuneScape was like a huge part of my childhood, and Club Penguin was a big part of my childhood. Uh, and but yeah, I would say in general, especially Nintendo, like the Zelda series in particular, the Zelda and the Mario series, I think are both, I mean, yeah, I don't think I need to explain why those games are good, but yeah, I was definitely obsessed with those as a kid, especially the Zelda games, and specifically the music. I really liked video game music always, especially Koji Kondo's a legend. He composed for both of those games that I just mentioned, and just the ability to get like a melody just completely stuck in your brain and you just can't get it out because it's so catchy and so memorable, and but also like so fitting as well. Like it's not just catchy. Like it's one thing to be catchy, but it's another whole dimension to be both catchy and fitting, I feel like, for
Water.
the vibe. And so yeah, like the water theme. Oh my God, the water theme from Mario 64, Super Mario Dar Dar Docks from Super Mario 64. Like you feel underwater, but it's also like a catchy song. And but actually the real I mean the whole Summer 2000 project began within kind of the larger project called CH Point, which is a YouTube channel that I started when it was kind of like January 2020, I believe. So like right before the pandemic started. I saw the video Never Meant 64. I don't know if either of you
Oh
saw
yeah.
that. Yeah, so it's like the Never Meant song with the Super Mario 64 sound font, and very quickly got inspired. Like, this is easy to do. Like, I could do this especially because so, I mean, obviously they're using the sound font, which is a file that not a lot of modern systems use, but especially like sequencer applications, like specifically the application that I'm thinking of is MuseScore, which is like sheet music editor that I used a lot growing up. I actually used it a lot. I used to transcribe music for my like school orchestra. I used my orchestra teacher, bless his heart. He allowed me to basically transcribe pop songs like for our orchestra to play. And like I think we played Pompeii by Bastille one year.
Oh
Wow,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so
exciting.
we played, yeah. So he allowed me to do it, and then on top of that, we also had like a group of like cellos and basses of my friends basically, where we would do that as well, but like for like a quartet of like two cellos and two basses, and he would let us perform at the orchestra concerts as well. So he was really supportive of my wacky ideas, and so but I was really familiar with MuseScore, and MuseScore uses sound fonts for its playback. And obviously it sounds really crappy. Like it's like sound fonts are very, it's sample based. And so you're basically just pitching up a sample at different, frequencies or whatever to make your sound font. But a lot of like video games also have sound fonts that have been like where they've ripped the actual samples from the game and then put them into a sound font that you could then use. Usually they use that. A lot of times they use that for like recreating the soundtracks in a higher definition, like because obviously when you have the game playing over the soundtrack, it doesn't really sound good. So like getting the actual the actual game music without the ambient sounds, that's kind of the use case for sound fonts in a lot of areas. And so there's a website called Musical Artifacts that has just a ton of awesome sound fonts that people have created of video game sound banks, basically. My idea back then was like, oh, I'll do this because I was always a big Midwest emo kid. Never, American football. I saw their comeback show at Lincoln Hall in 2014, 2013. I was there, and always that they were like one of the first Midwest emo bands that I knew of and came to love, kind of also Sunny Day Real Estate. But yeah, the idea of like turning the Neverment song into like a KK Slider like Animal Crossing song was kind of the vision for that first kind of CH Point thing, and people liked it, and so then I was like, you know what, screw it, I'll do the whole album. Just as a fun, like, I like transcribing. I don't do it as much these I don't do it at all these days, but back in the day, I really liked to transcribe music, especially Midwest emo stuff is so melodically, especially American football is super melodically intricate and very, almost like contrapuntal, like counterpoint a little bit. Like, there's an element of like, two different voices talking to one another, or, two different like twinkly guitars, like saying different ideas back and forth to one another, which is really interesting to me, and kind of like putting that into sheet music and then being able to see, oh, this is what they're doing here, you know, was kind of the vision of the beginning of the CH Point project. And that kind of expanded deeply into a lot of other. So I mean, that first project was my Animal Crossing project, which is American football's first album, with the KK Slider Animal Crossing sound font. But then I went further, during the pandemic, especially, like I was just trying to stay sane, and I was doing like, I did one called Pine Grove Valley, which was like, Pine Grove is a big band that I, fell in love with in high school. And Stardew Valley was another game that I loved, so kind of combine those together. Um, and then Sean Tendo did like for the band Sean. So anyways, did a lot of these like crossover projects for CH Point, where
KK
I'm just
Slider,
like,
killing in the
say
name of
again.
the KK Slider, killing in the name.
Oh yeah, okay, that's deep. That's a deep one. Yeah, yeah, I love that one. That one's a classic. That was one where I pretty much just downloaded the MIDI, the MIDI for the song from a website, and was just like, I can just throw the sound font over this and make it sound good. But yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So that was kind of a lot of my like early musical, in 2020 specifically. Early pandemic was a lot of just like crossover stuff, and then the album Your Arms Are My Cocoon came out, and that was very inspirational to me in the kind of sense of like making emo music like in a bedroom. Like, I feel like that was a novel idea for everyone, I think. I mean, I know Hecra was kind of a counterpoint to that, and actually, funny fact, Hecra and I grew up like 10 minutes away from one another,
Wow.
and the Hecra house that is on the cover of the Devil Faces album is an old abandoned house that my friends and I used to just go hang out at. So it's very, very strange. Anyways, that album by Your Arms My Cocoon came out and kind of like blew my mind in terms of like, oh, well, what can I do? Like, what could I actually do with my free time now? And so yeah, that was kind of the beginning of John Krasinski. So, but I think the kind of overlap between that transition from like the video game crossover stuff, and kind of that definitely bled into the summer 2000 project. I would well I mean and I was even I continued to do crossover stuff up until like 2023, I'm pretty sure. So I was doing it alongside, summer 2K music, and I haven't done one for a while. There is a secret one, but it's a secret, so
Will we hear it?
go ahead.
Would you? Are we gonna hear it anytime soon?
Probably this year.
Nice.
Probably this year at some point. It actually does tie into like the software arm of CH Point that's now coming out. So yeah. Uh, yeah. So anyways,